Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Becca Bertrand, Executive Director of Newport Film, and we are thrilled to have you with us for another amazing virtual Q&A. Tonight we'll be joined by the filmmaking team behind Bangla Surf Girls. And just a reminder, it's streaming through newportfilm.com for free until midnight tonight. You can RSVP. Be sure to click on that link sometime today, and you have 48 hours to finish the film. So we would love for as many people to check out this film as possible. I know we have an amazing surfing community in Newport, and so we're thrilled for you to ask your questions of the filmmakers. Before we get started, I just want to give a big shout out to the Rhode Island Council for the Humanities, excuse me, who provided some incredible grant support of our virtual film series, and we're just incredibly grateful for everything that Rich does for Newport Film. So thank you so much. And I hope that you all saw our exciting announcement this week, which is that we are going to be back with outdoor films this summer. We have a full season that we're getting ready for you, and we'll be launching all the film details in the first week of June. But we'll be doing outdoor films every Thursday night from June 17th to September 9th. So be sure you're following Newport Film on our social media pages and sign up for e-blasts, and you'll be the first to be able to RSVP. So without further ado, I would love to introduce the incredible team behind Bangla Surf Girls: Lalita Krishna, the writer and producer, and Elizabeth Costa, the director and cinematographer. Thank you so much for joining us, guys.
Thank you.
Before we went live, we were just chatting about where you guys are calling in from tonight, and I think our audiences would love to hear that.
So I'm calling you from Toronto.
I'm calling in from Netherlands.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're everywhere. That's amazing. We are encouraging our audiences out there to ask any questions that you might have of the filmmakers in the chat area. So just type your questions right into the chat and we will get them answered by the film team. But to get us started, I'd love to hear about how you both met each other, because you're obviously on different ends of the world, and started working together.
Okay, I can go first. So we were making a film in Bangladesh, a different film, and I think it was 2016. We were looking for someone local on the ground to help us out, and I met Elizabeth Costa, the inimitable Elizabeth Costa, and we became fast friends right away. And at that time, Elizabeth talked to me about these girls who surfed on the beach, and then the rest is history. Elizabeth, your version of this meeting.
Yeah, it was interesting. As Lalita said, she found me, and then we worked together, and then it was interesting that we started curating ideas, sharing our ideas, and I told her about these girls. Immediately she was like, we should do something. And that was the push. That was the first push I got from her, and went ahead with my camera.
That's amazing. How did you meet the girls?
I live in Bangladesh, so
okay.
I was in Cox's Bazar at the beach, and then that's how I met them. And it was kind of, when I first saw them with the surfboard, and the same girls are also selling jewelries, like it was kind of interesting for me, and immediately, I thought it can be a story.
That's so
great.
I
think the way Elizabeth pitched it to me is that, when you go to a beach and you see these kids, they're peddling, the trinkets, and there's peddling water and soft drinks, little kids. And she says, all of a sudden, I see this group of girls walking with surfboards, and I'm the same girls who were selling chips yesterday. Mm-hmm. And then she said, so she started following them. And that was, just the scene, the sight of that, the visual depiction of that was so attractive and interesting. I thought everybody would want to know.
Yeah. It's an amazing story. And I think what's really interesting for me was how honest and intimate you were with the girls. I mean, they were totally sharing everything. And I wondered if there was any, it seems like there's such a dynamic that's happening between the girls and their families. So I wondered if any of the families had hesitation about you filming them and following them everywhere.
No.
Really?
I mean, yes. First, when I was establishing the access, or getting to know each other, definitely that first phase is always difficult. It takes time for everyone to trust. And I think before taking my camera, I am still their sister. So I was their sister, right? And then they didn't see me with camera. They saw me and they trusted me as their big sister, and I could feel they were looking up to me whenever they used to see that, how I am an independent woman and how I am going and walking around, in Bangladesh and fulfilling my own dream on my own and taking care of my own family. So those are the things that, it bond us together. And then, when I went there with camera, it was, as I said, it took me time from the coach to the family to the girls' trust, but it was kind of, I would say they trusted me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And Lalita, you shared with me that you had an interesting filmmaking process because you were on the other side of the world while footage was coming to you. Can you share a little bit about how the two of you work together?
Yeah, so we worked really collaboratively, and I think it's a very interesting model. This is not the way, usually that a project gets done or documentaries get done, but I think this is really interesting in terms of how such a process can work today with the technology that we have available. So Elizabeth was very much immersed in that environment. She was, at one time, I think, even stayed in their homes, and she was filming them, and we are talking about, really that they live in really hardship conditions. So it was a lot that, as a cinematographer, Elizabeth was there, and she'd be there through the night, filming at night, as many scenes as you see. And she would share these with me when we got a chance. We'd talk almost very frequently, and if not every day, every couple of days. And it was like a sounding board, and we'd strategize as well, because there were situations where certain things weren't going the way we wanted it to go, and then we would say, okay, let's try this, and then we would brainstorm. So I was always there as a sounding board, and I think it helped, because otherwise she was just a single person just working on her own over there. And then she would also tell me things that she wasn't able to capture, some of the behind the scenes stuff that happened. And so when I saw the footage, I was able to piece it together, but also provide that background to the editors when we were working through it. And that's how we would get the footage in Toronto. Actually, we edited in New York first, and then we edited in Toronto. We would discuss that. And then Elizabeth was always in constant touch, explaining, providing background. If we asked for some material, she'd say, oh, no, look over here, you'll find it there, and that kind of thing. So it's a very collaborative model.
That's amazing. We have a fun question here for you. Elizabeth, here's a question from Steve. Is it true that prior to making the film, you didn't know how to swim? If so, how difficult did that make filming the girls in the water?
Well, I saw that comment. Thanks, Steve. Yes, I didn't know how to swim. I still don't know how to swim properly.
Oh, really?
So it was, how should I say? I took it as a challenge. Because whenever I used to go with my camera, definitely when I'm going in the water, it become more and more, how should I say? When I was going in the water, I forgot everything with cameras somehow. I don't know why and how, but I also always trusted the lifeguards over there. They knew that this crazy woman doesn't know how to swim. So they were keeping an eye on me. I didn't know. They told me after 2 years. They were like, we were keeping an eye on you. But at the same time, that challenge, I took it as a challenge, and that gave me to come up with ideas, which means when I was using the GoPro, I had to, sometimes I was training the surfers as well, like how to take a shot and make a frame. And then, and also they were helping me how to, when I'm with the camera, standing at the shore with my long lens, they were helping me how to get, what wave to get. Like there are some waves where that the girl will stand on that wave or fall. So those kind of techniques they were teaching me. So it was also a learning process, and I love challenges. So it was interesting. It was nice.
Yeah.
Though I didn't know how to swim, but yeah.
Did you ever want to surf?
I surfed last year.
Really?
Finally. Yes. Finally. Yeah, I had to, right? Yeah. There was no headache of filming. I will not wash away. I knew that. So yeah, I tried. God. And it has something different in it. It has a feeling, that freedom. Oh my gosh, that joy for less than a second. I could stand on a board. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so great. How long did you film for? How long were you with the girls?
I think more than 3.5 years, Lalita, or 3 years.
Yeah, I would say definitely 2.5 years over a period, continuously, and then the other sporadically the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And if you're just joining us, we are chatting with the incredible film team behind Bangla Surf Girls, which is streaming this week on Newport Film Virtual. If you have any questions for the filmmaking team, just feel free to type those questions right in the chat area, and we'll get them answered for you. Can you tell us a little bit about what's happened since you wrapped the film with the girls and with the club, and how things are going now?
Well, I'll jump in first, and then again. So when we wrap the film, for those who've seen it, you can, as you know, our main protagonist, Shobe, was unable to go to the international competition. And then, spoiler alert for those who have not watched the film, but we were hoping that he would go the following year. Happened to be last year.
Oh,
we had no idea that COVID would hit, and we were all set to say that, if it did happen, we would have had some kind of a follow-up, or we would have definitely ensured that we followed up on that, but it didn't happen. So we've kind of left it hopeful in the end that she will go when she gets a chance, and she continues to practice. So, but Elizabeth can give you some fantastic updates with the club that's really booming, and it's done very well since.
Great.
Yeah. The club themselves, there are new girls, a few new girls, and since the pandemic, there are some organizations who are helping them to, get the food bag and education. Like they have little strange tab. I mean, strange as in it even work without Wi-Fi. Yeah, so it's one of the foundations actually working with them, and so they're getting education and feedback. So that's something was really helpful.
So these girls have actually served as, their stories are inspiring because they've paved the way for a whole generation of young girls who can now see the future. So, we're keeping we're definitely following up, and Elizabeth's extremely close to the girls, to the original all 8 girls, but definitely the 3 who are the main characters in our film. And, we're following up. Some of them are back in the club as instructors. Some of them are working as lifeguards. So they are connected with the club, but I mean, there is no surfing that's happening.
Yeah.
But what's happened is it's opened the doors to a lot of younger girls coming in and getting, managing to sustain their families with the food supplies, but also getting an education, which is important.
Yeah. There was something I was wondering, is if there's ways that we can tell our audiences about how they could support the club.
Yeah, very soon on our website, we're going to have a link with the local NGO who's in fact providing the education, and we're going to create a page. So watch out for banglasurfgirls.com.
Yeah.
And you'll see an update very soon where we'll have this link and provide the direct link so that anything that anyone wants to do to support will go directly to the NGO, the local NGO.
That's so great. That's amazing. We'll be sure to post about it too. So feel free to keep us in the loop about it, and we'll do a lot of social media posts to tell our audiences, because I know we have so many passionate surfers here who would love to help these girls achieve their dreams. Something, we're also wondering always, and another question from the audience is if people's parents and families have seen the film, and if they have, has this helped them, their unsupportive families come around to respecting their passion for the sport or understanding why they do it?
Well, that's something I'm waiting to, we didn't show it in Bangladesh yet.
Okay.
So it's yet to release in Bangladesh. That's something, everyone is waiting eagerly.
Yeah.
One of the things I will say that, despite the fact that what you can see in the film is in terms of the father's anger and, the society in general not supporting the girls. The one thing about Bangladeshi society is that they are extremely supportive of sports, and these girls will be seen as heroes overall because they are achievers, and everyone loves the underdog who makes it. So I think they will get a really good reception. The film will get a good reception. I don't think it'll be portrayed as negative, because I think they all understand what parents go through in terms of their anxiety and their fear of what, the kind of vulnerability of young girls. And I think that's a universal feeling. So I'm fairly confident that it'll get a good reception, even from the families.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. You had such a small filmmaking team, Elizabeth. Was it just yourself? Did you have anybody with you, or were you very lean?
Well, I think first time for a few days I tried with the team, but the strategy was to get a camera person and a sound guy. But as I said, the challenge, the location was so tiny sometimes, and also girls became more, cautious maybe of camera and people around, and it wasn't easy to just observe them and let them be on their own. So then I decided, let me take the camera on my shoulder. Why not?
Yeah.
And Lalita was like, you have to go ahead. I was like, but I did the direction, but never done the camera like that, not for a big project like this.
Right.
So it was Lalita's also push, no, look at this shot. You have taken it good. I said, are you sure? Even I was doubting myself, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe I don't know, it was those little moments I was doubting, honestly. But then, I thought, let's try it. And then when I started filming, I could immediately see the whole change of environment, girls' attitude towards me, and how I could observe them. And I was actually going with the flow with them, with their schedule, not you have to do this, nothing, no direction. So it was flowing really naturally. That's what I wanted. And so I became one woman army. with two surfers around me. They helped me a lot. Two surfers were there all the time.
Yeah, that's helpful, because I feel like if you're not a surfer, like you were mentioning earlier, how do you know what's a good I don't even know the right words. What's a good surf, a good move? I don't. You definitely need someone to be serving as an interpreter for the surfing. And did you have any challenges doing any of the interpretation? Was there, when you're translating over and creating subtitles and stuff, was there anything that you felt was tricky about that? You're laughing, so I guess.
11 translators. So this language is, sorry, I'm going first, Lalita, and she can then say this language, the dialect they speak in Cox's Bazar is different than Bangla. Bangla is our language. So there is a little dialect, and it's also local. They talk really fast, and there were like first few months I was just like, are they shouting at me or they're talking to me? Like, those kind of things were there. By the time we finished filming, I shared an idea with Lalita that there is a volunteer team. Maybe we should train them online, and they were really enthusiastic. Like, they wanted to know this new software that, with the time code and everything. It's like editing software, that industry standard. And I trained them for 2 days, and then I took an exam, and from there we chose, like, we had to pick, and then Lalita's part started.
I think translations and the subtitling took an enormous amount of time. It was a really big challenge because the language, it's also about translation. It's also about getting the translation right, because it's not just about literal translation. It's about understanding enough of what they intended to say so that we convey it the right way. So it's sometimes they were using, it's just like any language, I guess, but in some specific ways they're using an example or a proverb or something which you can't translate literally. So we spent an inordinate amount of time in translations. It was quite frustrating, actually, a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the case, by the way. I've done many films in languages, and it is, unfortunately, we don't have the software even that Elizabeth's talking about. We found that there are limitations. So actually, my editor and we are thinking of developing a software too. We've learned so much.
You should.
Oh, seriously, I think it'll be a more lucrative business than making films.
Oh my goodness. We have 2 great questions from audience members here. One is about the coach and why he left the surf club, and if he's stuck around since he comes back to the film and hopefully he comes back to the club and stays.
Yeah. You want me to answer that?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'll do the first part, which is that, originally, as we say in the film, he left because his wife is in California, and, he had done enough in sacrificing his personal life by staying around. So right from the beginning, he says, I don't know how long this will go on, because he loves the kids. He stays on. But at some point, we all knew it was inevitable that he's going to have to leave. Mm-hmm. He had left for short spans of time, but then he had to leave for good at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's back in Bangladesh, if you ask me now, like at present. And he's working. He's still there. He didn't leave them. Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. He's such a positive role model for them, and really a fighter. I was right there with him when he's going to people's houses, and I'm going to find out where they went. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and it really speaks to how a local program can only run, with the right kind of leadership. It's so important because he knew enough about the families to be able to deal with them, but he also knows how to deal with the authorities. There's a lot that we don't sort of show in the film, but it goes, just in terms of just getting permission, not be heckled by the cops, no one would mess with him because he's got quite the reputation over there. And he would, in sense of, just commanding respect. So he was able to be the buffer with the girls. And you could see that, the club kind of falls apart when he's not there. Yeah. Even though it had well-intentioned leaders, they don't have his charisma and personality and his leadership.
We have another great question that's really interesting. What do you see as the biggest environmental challenge facing the area? Is it access to surf breaks or water quality or plastic pollution? Thank you, Dave, for that great question.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. If I say environmental challenge, of course, the pollution is there. Plastic pollution is there. Bangladesh government is trying with the tourist police. I think for last 1 year or 2 years, they started there is a zone. After that, those who are selling, at the beach side, they're not allowed to sell with the plastic stuff. They can only sell, at a certain point. But still, it's interesting to see that even in 2016, when I first started filming, waves were really good. And around September, October, November, December, even till January, I could see everyone was excited about surfing, like this is the season. But by the time we filmed in 2018, 19, around then, the waves started to, like right now, it's really, if we talk about climate change, I could literally see how it's changed drastically. Right now, they have to wait for the wave. Even during the season, there is no waves. There are no waves like that, like previously. Though this whole Cox's Bazar is a sand beach, right? So the amount of sand is like a lot. Even that ruined my one camera. I had to like give it to the sea, let's say it this way. But the amount of sand and how it's hard for me to explain, but I could see the change, like how the what do you call it, the water level is getting inner side more and more, and it's changing. And there is like a beach cleaners who are trying to keep the space clean, but still I think a lot of people, when there is a tourist season, oh my gosh, it's hard to explain how they, it's like everywhere, like they're not being responsible.
Oh geez, that's heartbreaking. And it must be heartbreaking to be filming that too, because you're making an archive of it. So you can actually see how things have changed.
And all the surfers and the lifeguards, they are really responsible. They get angry too. They get angry about this whole, people coming from different parts of the country and then polluting that area. They don't like it.
No, it's terrible. I wonder if we don't want to take up too much of your time tonight, but we'd love to hear a little bit so we can tell if our audiences out there have friends who might want to see this film, if you can talk a little bit about what the film's journey is going to be and what your next steps are after leaving a festival run.
Yeah, so right now we are sort of enjoying this festival round, and thank you for showing it at the Newport Festival. I really wish we could all be together. Wouldn't that be amazing? And it's unfortunate because I really wanted Elizabeth, this is her first feature film, to also have that experience of being able to meet audiences, to do these Q&As live, because there's nothing greater for a filmmaker than to have that experience and to have that joy of seeing your 4 years of work come to life on a big screen with the shared audience. But it is what it is. So we are going to, and then we are having a lot of conversations with distributors, hoping to have a TV sale, and maybe, it'll come to the small screens after we've done a festival round.
Yeah, that's great. And just to remind our audiences one more time that you have until midnight tonight to request a link to watch the film. Just head to newportfilm.com and you can watch it either on your TVs or you can utilize our new smart TV app so that you can watch it in the comfort of your own home. And you actually do have 48 hours to finish the film once you start it. So feel free to start that tonight so that you can be sure to see this amazing film. I want to thank you both so much for joining us, Lalita, Elizabeth, from all across the world. We're so incredibly grateful for you being a part of our virtual screening series. And Elizabeth, congratulations on your first feature film. It's really wonderful.
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thanks, Becca. This was really great. Thank you.
Thank you
for
so much, everyone. And be sure to keep following newportfilm.com and also checking out our social media pages to see what's next. And we'll be releasing that outdoor film season soon. So thanks so much for being here, and we hope to see you again soon.
Ciao.